Hello friends, myself Dr. Usha Dandekar, Professor, Department of Anatomy, presenting a topic on basal ganglia. Now what is basal ganglia? Basal ganglia, it is also known as basal nuclei. These are the subcortical masses of grey matter. Now all of you learn the cerebral hemisphere. This cerebral hemisphere consists of outer grey matter and the inner white matter. So the basal ganglia are situated in the white matter of the cerebral hemisphere. So these are the subcortical masses of grey matter. They consist of nuclei. So these are the subcortical masses of grey matter. You have heard about the thalamus, hypothalamus. So thalamus is also a grey matter. It is also a mass of grey matter. So similarly, the basal ganglia are the masses of grey matter which is situated in the white core of the cerebral hemisphere, and they are located lateral to the thalamus. Now in this picture, this is the thalamus. This red colored structure is the thalamus, and the basal ganglia, this is the basal ganglia which is situated lateral to the thalamus. Now this basal ganglia, embryologically, it is derived from telencephalon, and the main function of the basal ganglia is to organize and coordinate the motor movements and posture. So the specific learning objectives of today's lecture is to describe the parts and connections of basal ganglia and to know the functions and applied anatomy of basal ganglia. Now, what are the parts of basal ganglia? We have seen this basal ganglia, it is situated lateral to the thalamus. Now, this picture shows the coronal section of the cerebral hemisphere. So, this is the coronal section of the cerebral hemisphere, and here this is the thalamus. And the basal ganglia, these are the nuclei. These are the masses of grey matter situated lateral to the thalamus. So whatever colored structure is seen here lateral to the thalamus is basal ganglia. So anatomically, the basal ganglia consists of three parts: the corpus striatum, claustrum, and amygdaloid body. So the anatomically, the basal ganglia consist of three parts: the corpus striatum, claustrum, and amygdaloid body. We will see the details of these parts. And functionally, in addition to these parts, these three parts, it consists of the subthalamus or subthalamic nucleus, substantia nigra, and red nucleus. Now in this picture, you can see lateral to the thalamus, these structures are called as corpus striatum. Lateral to the corpus striatum, there is claustrum, then the amygdaloid body, and just inferior to the thalamus, there is subthalamic nucleus. So this is the subthalamic nucleus. Then this black colored structure is the substantia nigra, and this is the red nucleus. So all these are the parts of basal ganglia. Now what is corpus striatum? Now corpus striatum consists of two nuclei, and these are the caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus. Now here in this picture, you can see the coronal section of the cerebral hemisphere, and these are the yellow colored structure is the thalamus, and the lateral to the thalamus, these are the basal ganglia. Now corpus striatum. Corpus striatum is a part of basal ganglia. It consists of two nuclei, that is the caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus. Now lateral and above to the thalamus, this nucleus is the caudate nucleus, and lateral to the thalamus, this nucleus is the lentiform nucleus. So these two nuclei, caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus, they constitute the corpus striatum. Now here this is the schematic representation of this diagram. It shows the relations of thalamus and the corpus striatum. Now here this is the thalamus. This is the caudate nucleus, and here this is the lentiform nucleus. So the thalamus and corpus striatum, they are separated by white fibers, by a bundle of white fibers, and this bundle of white fibers is called as internal capsule. So here this is the internal capsule, which is a bundle of white fibers, and this internal capsule separate the thalamus from corpus striatum. So corpus striatum consists of caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus, and they are separated from the thalamus by internal capsule. Now what is caudate nucleus? Now this caudate nucleus, we have seen in this picture, you can see this caudate nucleus is situated lateral and above to the thalamus. Now this caudate nucleus, it is comma shape. So here you can see the comma shape structure. This is the caudate nucleus. It is also C shape. You can say the C shape structure. This is the caudate nucleus and it surrounds the thalamus. It is situated lateral to the thalamus and it surrounds the thalamus. Here in this picture, this is the thalamus. So this caudate nucleus, it surrounds the thalamus and it consists of three parts: the head, body and tail. So the caudate nucleus has three parts. This is the head, this is the body, and this thin slender structure is the tail of the caudate nucleus. Now this caudate nucleus is situated in the lateral ventricle. Now lateral ventricle, it is a cavity of the cerebral hemisphere. So here in the cerebral hemisphere you can see a cavity which consists of CSF, and this cavity is called as the lateral ventricle. So the caudate nucleus is situated within the cavity of lateral ventricle, lateral to the thalamus. So it surrounds the thalamus laterally. Now the head of the caudate nucleus is the enlarged anterior end. Now here in this picture it is clearly seen the caudate nucleus. This is the red color structure is the thalamus, and the caudate nucleus, this green colored nucleus is the caudate nucleus. So this caudate nucleus, it surrounds the thalamus. So the head of the caudate nucleus, now here this is the head of the caudate nucleus. It is enlarged anterior end and it forms the floor of the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. We have seen the caudate nucleus is situated within the lateral ventricle. So this head forms the floor of the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. Now here in this picture you can see the lateral ventricle has different parts. So anteriorly it has anterior horn, then this is the body, this is the posterior horn and this is the inferior horn. So the head of the caudate nucleus lies in the floor of the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. Now in the corona section you can see this is the lateral ventricle and this is the head of the caudate nucleus, which is situated in the floor of the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle. And this head of the caudate nucleus, laterally it is related to the internal capsule and lentiform nucleus. So lateral to the caudate nucleus, here you can see the internal capsule, which is a bundle of white fibers, and still laterally there is lentiform nucleus. So the head of the caudate nucleus is situated in the floor of the anterior horn of the lateral ventricle, and laterally it is related to the internal capsule and lentiform nucleus. Now body of the caudate nucleus is a continuation of the head. So this is the body of the caudate nucleus and it forms the floor of the body of the lateral ventricle. Now here this is the body of the lateral ventricle, and so the body of the caudate nucleus forms the floor of the body of the lateral ventricle. And this body of the caudate nucleus medially, it is related to the thalamus and separated from the thalamus by stria terminalis and thalamostriate vein, while laterally it is related to the lentiform nucleus and fronto-occipital fasciculus. Now here this is the thalamus and this is the lentiform nucleus. So medially it is related to the thalamus and laterally it is related to the lentiform nucleus, and still lateral to the lentiform nucleus there is fronto-occipital fasciculus. Now fronto-occipital fasciculus are the white fibers which extend from the frontal lobe to the occipital lobe. Now the tail of the caudate nucleus. Here this is the tail of the caudate nucleus. It is a continuation of the body. It is long and slender and forms the roof of the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. Now here this is the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. So this tail of the caudate nucleus is situated in the roof of the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. Then above it is related to the thalamus and it terminates. So this is the thalamus. So above it is related to the thalamus and it terminates. This tail of the caudate nucleus terminates in a globular structure that is called as the amygdaloid body. So this is the amygdaloid body. So it ends in the amygdaloid body. Now the next nucleus is the lentiform nucleus. Now this lentiform nucleus is a biconvex mass. Now here this is the horizontal section of the cerebrum. So these are the two cerebral hemispheres. This is the horizontal section. And in this picture, this is the thalamus. This is the caudate nucleus. And here this is the lentiform nucleus. So between the thalamus and the lentiform nucleus, you can see the internal capsule, which is a bundle of white fibers. So the lentiform nucleus is a biconvex mass of grey matter. It lies between the internal capsule and external capsule. So lateral to the lentiform nucleus, there is again a thin band of white fibers. Here you can see white fibers and this is called as external capsule. So this lentiform nucleus is situated between the internal capsule and external capsule. And the lentiform nucleus has three surfaces: the medial surface, lateral surface and inferior surface. So we have seen the corpus striatum has two nuclei, that is the caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus. So this is the caudate nucleus and this is the lentiform nucleus. So these two structures constitute the corpus striatum. So corpus striatum is a part of basal ganglia. Now what are the relations of lentiform nucleus? Now this is the lentiform nucleus. Medially it is related to the internal capsule. So which is a bundle of white fibers. So this is the internal capsule. Laterally the lentiform nucleus is related to the external capsule. Now here this is a thin band of white fibers. This is the external capsule. Still lateral to the external capsule, you can see a thin band of grey matter. So this thin band of grey matter is called as claustrum. Lateral to the claustrum, again there is a white fibers. This is a bundle of white fibers. This bundle of white fibers is called as extreme capsule. And lateral to the extreme capsule, again grey matter. This is called as insular cortex. So lateral relations of lentiform nucleus from within outwards is the external capsule. Lateral to it there is claustrum. Then this is the extreme capsule and this is the insular cortex. Now superiorly, the lentiform nucleus is related to the corona radiata. Now what is corona radiata? Corona radiata are the fibers, the white fibers which arise from the cerebral cortex. So these are the various white fibers which arise from the different motor areas, different cortical areas of the cerebral hemisphere. And these white fibers are called as corona radiata. And these corona radiata fibers, they converge to form the internal capsule. So this internal capsule which lies between the thalamus and the corpus striatum. So superiorly, the lentiform nucleus is related to the corona radiata and inferiorly it is related to the anterior perforated substance, then anterior commissure, then sublentiform part of internal capsule, tail of the caudate nucleus, this is the tail of the caudate nucleus, and stria terminalis. Stria terminalis are the projection fibers from the amygdaloid body. So these are the relations of lentiform nucleus. Then what are the parts of lentiform nucleus? Now here this is the lentiform nucleus. Now this lentiform nucleus is divided into two parts. The outer part is called as putamen. This is the putamen, and the inner part is called as globus pallidus. I repeat, the lentiform nucleus is divided into two parts. The outer dark colored part is the putamen and the inner faint colored part is the globus pallidus. So this putamen, it is dark in color and it consists of densely packed small cells. So the putamen is dark in color and it consists of densely packed small cells. while this inner part is the globus pallidus, which is faint in color, and it consists of large motor cells. Now the putamen and globus pallidus, they are separated from each other by external medullary lamina. So this is the external medullary lamina. So putamen and globus pallidus are separated from each other by external medullary lamina. Now this globus pallidus is further divided into two parts, the outer segment and inner segment. So this is the outer segment and inner segment, and these two segments are separated from each other by internal medullary lamina. So this is the internal medullary lamina. So lentiform nucleus, if you see the parts of lentiform nucleus, it has basically two parts. The outer part is putamen and the inner part, this part is the globus pallidus. And they are separated from each other by external medullary lamina. While globus pallidus is again divided into two parts, the outer segment and inner segment, by internal medullary lamina. So these are the parts of lentiform nucleus. Now what is fundus striatum? This is the head of the caudate nucleus and this is the lentiform nucleus. So the head of the caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus are connected to each other by a band of grey matter. And this band of grey matter is situated antero-inferior to the anterior limb of internal capsule. So this is the internal capsule. This internal capsule has different parts. This is the anterior limb, this is the genu, this is the posterior limb. So this band of grey matter is situated antero-inferior to the anterior limb of internal capsule. And this grey matter, this band of grey matter connects the caudate nucleus to lentiform nucleus. And this is called as fundus striatum. And this fundus striatum it gives striated appearance to the corpus striatum. And therefore the name corpus striatum. Now, the corpus striatum functionally is divided into two parts. So, functionally it consists of two parts. Anatomically, we have seen the corpus striatum consists of two nuclei, that is the caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus. But functionally, it is divided into two parts, that is the neostriatum and pallidostriatum. Neostriatum and pallidostriatum. Now what is neostriatum? Now neostriatum, it has again two parts, that is the dorsal part and the ventral part. Now dorsal neostriatum consists of caudate nucleus and putamen. In this picture, this is the caudate nucleus and here this is the putamen. Putamen is a part of lentiform nucleus. So caudate nucleus and putamen, they together called as dorsal neostriatum. While ventral neostriatum consists of two more structure, that is the nucleus accumbens and olfactory tubercle. Now antero-inferior to the caudate nucleus, here this is the nucleus accumbens and this is the olfactory tubercle. So these two structures, the nucleus accumbens and olfactory tubercle, are the parts of ventral neostriatum. So dorsal neostriatum consists of caudate nucleus and putamen, while ventral neostriatum consists of nucleus accumbens and olfactory tubercle. While pallidostriatum, it has also dorsal part and the ventral part. The dorsal pallidostriatum consists of globus pallidus. Now here, this is the globus pallidus, which is a part of lentiform nucleus. So this globus pallidus constitute the dorsal pallidostriatum, and ventral pallidostriatum consists of anterior perforated substance. So this is the anterior perforated substance which constitute the ventral pallidostriatum. So this nucleus accumbens, olfactory tubercle, anterior perforated substance, these are very small nuclei which are situated anterior inferior to the caudate nucleus. So the functionally the caudate corpus striatum is divided into neostriatum and pallidostriatum. The dorsal neostriatum consists of caudate nucleus and putamen, and ventral neostriatum consists of nucleus accumbens and olfactory tubercle, while pallidostriatum consists of the dorsal pallidostriatum consists of globus pallidus, and ventral pallidostriatum consists of anterior perforated substance. So this is the functional division of the corpus striatum. Now microscopically, if you see the structure of the neostriatum and pallidostriatum, they are slightly different. Now this neostriatum is also called as striatum, and in the neostriatum or striatum there are small as well as the large motor cells, and the ratio between the small to the large multipolar cells, multipolar neurons, is 20:1. The 75% of the small cells have spiny dendrites, and they contain GABA, enkephalin or substance P. The encephalonergic neurons consist of D2 receptors, that is the dopamine 2 receptors, while substance P neurons consist of dopamine 1 receptors. Now 25% of small cells are non-spiny, and they contain acetylcholinesterase, cholinacetyltransferase and somatostatin. Now the large cells have spiny dendrites, and they contain acetylcholinesterase and cholinacetyltransferase. While pallidostriatum or pallidum consists of large multipolar neurons, the afferent neurons contain substance P in internal segment, enkephalin in the external segment, and GABA throughout the globus pallidus, and the efferent neurons contain GABA or acetylcholine as neurotransmitters. Now what is claustrum? This is the second part of the basal ganglia. Now claustrum, here this is the horizontal section of the cerebral hemisphere, and here this is the claustrum. It is a thin sheet of grey matter and it is situated lateral to the lentiform nucleus. This claustrum, it is separated from the lentiform nucleus by a bundle of white matter, that is the external capsule, and it is separated from the insular cortex by another bundle of white matter. This is the extreme capsule. So this claustrum is situated between the external capsule and extreme capsule. Now if you trace it above, it is connected to the neocortex, and if you trace it below, it is connected to the anterior perforated substance and amygdaloid body. So this is the claustrum, which is a part of basal ganglia. One of the part we have seen is the corpus striatum. The second part is the claustrum. Then the third part of the basal ganglia is the amygdaloid body. Now here this is the amygdaloid body. It is almond shaped and it is situated antero-superior to the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. This is the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle, and this amygdaloid body, it lies superior to the inferior horn of the lateral ventricle. And the projection fibers from the amygdaloid body or efferent fibers from the amygdaloid body are called as stria terminalis. Now this amygdaloid body, topographically, it is connected to the basal ganglia, but functionally it is a part of limbic system. Now substantia, what is substantia nigra? Now substantia nigra, it is a band of pigmented nerve cells. Now this is the section of midbrain. This is the aqueduct of Sylvius, and the midbrain has three parts. This is the anterior aspect and this is the posterior aspect. So the midbrain consists of three parts. Anteriorly, this is the crus cerebri. Then this part in front of the aqueduct, this part is called as the tegmentum, and posterior to the aqueduct, this is the tectum. So the substantia nigra, it lies between the crus cerebri and the tegmentum. So between crus cerebri and tegmentum, you can see a thin band of pigmented nerve cell, black in color. This is called as substantia nigra. Now this substantia nigra extends from the midbrain to the subthalamic nucleus. So substantia nigra, this band of pigmented cells extends from the midbrain to the subthalamic nucleus. It is rich in iron and neuromelanin, therefore it is black in color, and it contains GABA and dopamine. Okay, so that these are the neurotransmitters. The GABA and dopamine are the neurotransmitters which are released from the substantia nigra. Now another structure of the basal ganglia is the subthalamus or subthalamic nucleus. It is a biconvex mass of grey matter. Now here, this is the coronal section of the cerebral hemisphere. This is the thalamus, and just antero-inferior to the thalamus, a small biconvex mass of grey matter. This is called as subthalamus. And between the thalamus and subthalamus, there is another small nucleus which is called as zona incerta. So between thalamus and subthalamus, a small nucleus which is called as zona incerta. Now what is the blood supply of the basal ganglia? It is supplied by the lenticulostriate arteries, which are the branches of anterior and middle cerebral arteries. It is also supplied by anterior and posterior choroidal arteries. And the third is the thalamostriate branches of posterior cerebral arteries. So we have seen the basal ganglia. It consists of, anatomically, it consists of three parts. That is the corpus striatum, Then the corpus striatum. Then there are other nuclei, like we have seen the anatomically there are three parts: the corpus striatum, then the claustrum, and the amygdaloid body. And functionally, in addition to above three structures, there are subthalamus, then the substantia nigra, and red nucleus. Now, what are the connections of basal ganglia? Now, first we'll see the connections of corpus striatum. Now, it has afferent connections and efferent connections. Now, afferent fibers are corticostriate fibers, thalamostriate fibers, and nigrostriate fibers. And efferent fibers are striatopallidal, striatothalamic, and striatonigral fibers. Now, as the name suggests, these fibers you can make out from where to where these fibers extend. Now, this is the cerebral cortex. This is the lentiform nucleus. This is the thalamus, caudate nucleus, and this is the substantia nigra. Now, afferent fibers, there are three afferent fibers: the corticostriate fibers, that means from the cerebral cortex to the corpus striatum. Corpus striatum consists of caudate nucleus and lentiform nucleus. So, corticostriate fibers extend from the cerebral cortex to the corpus striatum. Now, thalamostriate fibers extend from the thalamus to the corpus striatum. So, these are the thalamostriate fibers. And nigrostriate fibers extend from the substantia nigra to the corpus striatum. So, these are the nigrostriate fibers. Now, which are the efferent fibers? The efferent fibers are the striatopallidal. Striatopallidal means from the neostriatum to the globus pallidus. From the neostriatum consists of the caudate nucleus and putamen. So, from the neostriatum to the globus pallidus are the striatopallidal fibers. So, these are the striatopallidal fibers. Then striatothalamic fibers from neostriatum to the thalamus, that is the striatothalamic fibers. And third, striatonigral fibers from the striatum to the substantia nigra. These are the striatonigral fibers. So, afferent fibers are corticostriate fibers, thalamostriate fibers, and nigrostriate fibers, while the efferent fibers are striatopallidal fibers, striatothalamic fibers, and striatonigral fibers. Now, these corticostriate fibers are glutaminergic and they are excitatory to the striatal neurons. The corticostriate fibers are glutaminergic and they are excitatory. They stimulate the neurons of the striatum. So, they are excitatory to the striatal neurons. Then nigrostriate fibers are dopaminergic and they convey dopamine. And these nigrostriate fibers are inhibitory to the striatal neurons. Remember, the corticostriate fibers are excitatory, while nigrostriate fibers are inhibitory to the striatal neurons. Then the striatonigral fibers from the striatum to the substantia nigra. The striatonigral fibers, which are the efferent fibers, are GABAminergic and they are inhibitory to the neurons of substantia nigra. The striatonigral fibers, which are efferent fibers, are GABAminergic and they are inhibitory to the neurons of substantia nigra. Now, what are the connections of globus pallidus? Again, globus pallidus has afferent connections and efferent connections. The afferent connections are afferent fibers are striatopallidal and nigropallidal. Now here this is the cerebral cortex, lentiform nucleus, thalamus, caudate nucleus and substantia nigra. Now striatopallidal, afferent fibers are striatopallidal. So from the new striatum to the globus pallidus, this is the globus pallidus, are the striatopallidal fibers. And second is the nigropallidal, means from substantia nigra to the globus pallidus are the nigropallidal fibers. The efferent fibers, they extend from the globus pallidus to the thalamus and subthalamus. So there are three efferent fibers, the ansa lenticularis, then pallidosubthalamic and fasciculus lenticularis. So this is the cerebral cortex, this is lentiform nucleus, thalamus, caudate nucleus, substantia nigra. This is subthalamic nucleus or subthalamus. Between thalamus and subthalamus there is zona incerta and this is the red nucleus. So the efferent fibers from globus pallidus consist of ansa lenticularis, pallidosubthalamic and fasciculus lenticularis. Now ansa lenticularis arise from both segments of globus pallidus. The ansa lenticularis arise from both segments, the outer segment and inner segment of globus pallidus. So this is the ansa lenticularis. So this ansa lenticularis arise from both segments of globus pallidus. The fibers pass between the subthalamus and zona incerta. Then these fibers wind around the zona incerta and pass upward and join with the fasciculus lenticularis to form the thalamic fasciculus. So this ansa lenticularis winds around the zona incerta, they run upwards and join with the another efferent fiber, that is the fasciculus lenticularis, to form. So these two fibers, ansa lenticularis and fasciculus lenticularis, join to form thalamic fasciculus, and this thalamic fasciculus end in the thalamic nuclei. The second efferent fibers are the pallidosubthalamic. So from the globus pallidus to the subthalamic nucleus. So the pallidothalamic fibers extend from the both segments of globus pallidus to the subthalamic nucleus. And third efferent fiber is the fasciculus lenticularis. The fasciculus lenticularis arise from the inner segment of the globus pallidus. This is the inner segment. So the fasciculus lenticularis arise from the inner segment of the globus pallidus. The fibers loop upward and join with the ansa lenticularis to form thalamic fasciculus. So the fasciculus lenticularis, they wind around the subthalamic nucleus zona incerta and they pass upwards and join with the ansa lenticularis to form the thalamic fasciculus, and then this thalamic fasciculus terminate in the thalamic nucleus. So there are three efferent fibers, ansa lenticularis, subthalamic and fasciculus lenticularis. Now what are the functions of basal nuclei? Now the basal ganglia plays an important role in the planning and programming of the voluntary movements. So it plays an important role in the planning and programming of the voluntary movements. It determines the speed and duration of the movement. It decreases the muscle tone and inhibits the unwanted muscular activity. It regulates the muscle tone and helps in smoothing of the voluntary movements. It controls the automatic associated movements like swinging of arms during walking. Then it controls the group of movements for emotional expression. It controls the reflex muscular activity and it helps in rewarding effects like laughter, pleasure, addiction of drugs. So these are various functions. So basically it is involved in the voluntary movements and the automatic associated movements. Now clinical anatomy. All of you know that the substantia nigra releases dopamine, and the nigrostriate fibers, we have seen the nigrostriate fibers are dopaminergic, and this dopamine is required for the smooth functioning of the voluntary muscles. Now in old age, what happens due to degenerative changes in the globus pallidus and substantia nigra? There will be dopamine deficiency, and due to dopamine deficiency there is person manifests the Parkinson's disease. So this Parkinson's disease, it is a old age disease. So in old age, due to the dopamine deficiency, there are degenerative changes, and due to the dopamine deficiency, some changes are seen, and this Parkinson's disease is manifested by the mask-like face, then the stoop posture, then the forward tilt of the trunk, there is reduced arm swinging. So we have seen the basal ganglia is responsible for the automatic associated movements like swinging of arms during walking. So there is reduced arm swinging or no swinging of the arm. Then you can see the tremors in the fingers, tremors in the hand and fingers. There is pin rolling movement of the fingers. Then the hips and the knees are slightly flexed. Then there is shuffling gait, the shuffling short step gait. Then there is a rigidity in the back. This rigidity is the cogwheel type of rigidity. Then there is flexion of the elbows and wrist, tremors in the legs also. So these are the characteristic feature of the Parkinson's disease. And in this patient, you can minimize the symptoms by giving dopamine supplementary like levodopa. Another condition is the chorea. Chorea is the brisk, jerky, purposeless movements of tongue, face, and distal parts of the limbs. Swift grimaces and sudden movements of the head or limbs associated with twitching of the face. So this chorea is also due to the dysfunction of the basal ganglia. Athetosis, these are the slow worm-like writhing movements of limbs affecting mainly fingers and toes. And the lesion is seen in the neostriatum and globus pallidus. Then another condition is called as the balismus, and this balismus is due to the vascular lesion in the subthalamic nucleus, and it is characterized by the violent burst of irregular movements in the trunk, girders and proximal extremity. So these are few conditions which are seen due to the dysfunction or derangement of the basal ganglia. So we have seen the different parts of the basal ganglia, their connections and the diseases related to it. Thank you.